Hey ladies, welcome back to the channel. So today, as you can tell by the caption of the video, we are going to be doing a basic full set tutorial. Nothing fancy, no fancy designs or anything, just start to finish basic full set. You know you have to do one of those every once in a while. But before we get into the tutorial, that's a tongue twister. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. I am going to be doing a 500 subscriber giveaway. I'm going to be giving away a really nice, really big nail kit. Um, so if that's something that you're interested in, make sure to subscribe and turn on the post notifications. That way you can know every single time that I post a video, because I will be doing a video here soon within the next few days or week or two. Just basically, running through and telling like all the requirements and how to enter, this and that. So let's go ahead and hop into this tutorial. So I did kind of do some of the steps already, because this set that I'm doing now, the client came for a soak off, which is my last video that I just posted. So if you want to see that, definitely go check that out. But I already have the cuticles pushed back and trimmed, so now I just went around the cuticles with my cone shaped drill bit to get all the excess nail and skin out of there, expose all the new growth, and then I'm going back over with my sanding band to just dehydrate the nail of any natural oils, just giving it a nice clean fresh base to go ahead and do this prep work. I do want to mention, as you can see on her thumb, she has something that I like to call a greenie. So there's a lot of different names for this, but I just want to specify that it is not mold or anything like that. It is just from this client had her nails on for about 2.5 months. They were perfectly good. They were going strong. We just, I'm the type, after a certain amount of time, I do recommend my clients to get a new set. This is actually my mom. So she had some things come up to where she could not come back as soon as she would like, or as soon as she normally does, because y'all, let me tell you, she stays up on her nails. Like, she never misses a beat. But yeah, we had something come up, so she had to come back later than what she normally does. So anyways, back to the greenie. The reason that came about was because her thumbnail had kind of lifted on the side, and some water had gotten under there. And when water sits, it doesn't necessarily turn into mold, but it kind of stains the nail. And the only way to get a greenie out or off, I guess, is to just let your nail grow out. You cannot file it off. You can't, like, there's literally, you just have to let your client's nail grow out, and then eventually you'll be able to clip it down. So it's no big deal. It doesn't hurt or anything. It's not fungus or any type of infection. It's just from that darn old water. So yeah. As you can see, I already have the nails trimmed down. I guess I should say cut down. Trimmed down sounds like something I would say for a natural nail. But I have the nail tips already cut down to the length she wants to do. We're just going to be doing a medium coffin brown set, jump right into fall. So I think this was a really nice set, especially for her. I went ahead and filed the first two nails already. And so, of course, with coffin, now you guys are probably used to me doing my tapered square sets. So with coffin, you do want to still kind of do the same methods. On the free edge of the nail, you're still going to be filing straight at a 90-degree angle to get a nice crisp free edge. But however, on the side, you want to file more at, I would say, like I don't know, 75-degree angle. You just want to make sure that you're slanting that file just a little bit, not too much, but just a little bit, following the nail tip. And you want to make sure with coffin, with tapered square, it's a little bit easier to pay attention to, if you're starting to do too much to one side than you are the other. But with coffin, it's, just a few extra swipes that aren't necessary, and now the whole one side of your nail is completely taken off or slanted too much, like, and you have to, to the point you have to put on a whole new nail tip. It's no fun. So I do like to recommend that when you're doing coffin, to do file each side just a little bit and then go back and look at it, and then file the other one and go back and look at it, and just take your time, because like I said, when you're doing coffin, it's so easy to file too much of one side and not the other, but it's to the point where that one side that was filed too much is like irreparable, I guess I should say. So you want to make sure that you're still turning your nails. As you can see, the shape is perfect. You just want to make sure that you get into the habit of constantly looking at the nails from different angles. That way everything is nice and uniform. I noticed that when I first started nails, I used to get in the habit of just looking at it from the basic point of view as you're seeing right now, and I would get to the end of the set and things wouldn't look so even or so straight from other angles. So I like to just remind everybody that it's easier and it's better to just handle that now, tackle that now, rather than get to the end and you're like, well, where do I go from here? So yeah, now I'm just taking that same sanding band and I am going over where the nail tip and the natural nail meet. This is a really important step. What it does is blends the nail tip. That way, the acrylic application will be a lot smoother and you won't have to worry about lifting for the most part. This does help lessen the chance of your nails lifting. So I do like to go over the nail tip as well with the sanding band. That's totally optional, but I feel like it helps the acrylic adhere better. Um, so I like to, throw that out there as a little tip. Like I said, it is optional, but so now I'm going in with my Mia Secret Dehydrator, and this just helps strip the nail of the natural oils just one more time. This is important because if you leave the natural oils on there, the acrylic would not adhere how it should, so that's really important. And then now I'm just going in with my Young Nails Protein Bond, aka primer. This is what helps the acrylic adhere and bond the acrylic to the nail. So that's a really important step. You want to make sure that you're doing both of those. That way you don't have any lifting, any acrylic not really staying, any breakage. It just overall helps with your retention and helping keep those nails on and lasting. So as I mentioned, I am doing just a basic set. So she chose to do like a brown mocha-ish color. This is from Sugar and Cream. I'm a big fan of their products, so definitely check them out. It's like an Instagram boutique for nails, I guess I should say. So yeah, but we are going to be doing the same exact steps as we normally do. So you just want to make sure that you're working with a medium to wet bead. So you don't want it too wet because you don't want it to run all over the place, and you don't want it too dry, of course, because then you will not be able to manipulate it or do anything really with it. So as you can see, this particular color was kind of, I don't really know the word to use for it, but it just wasn't really consistent throughout the set. And what I mean by that is, I was, of course, using the same acrylic, the monomer ratio, but for some reason, it just, some beads were placing more wet than others, some beads were placing more dry. So I'm not really sure. I noticed that was happening throughout the whole entire set. So you may see me, clean my brush more than normal. You may see me dip it in the monomer more than normal. And that's just because I'm trying to, work with it as best as I can. I wouldn't necessarily say that it was hard to work with, but it was different from all of the other acrylics that I've used from them. So I'm not really sure what happened there, but it still turned out to be a really awesome set. So as you can see, I just used 3 beads here. I did, and you will see me do this again, go back in on like the side walls of the nails and just add a little bead of acrylic, only because I felt like normally when I go and clean up the edges of the nail, the acrylic stays. For some reason, this was wiping off way easier. And of course, you don't want to leave the sides of the nails bare with no color. So that's what you'll be seeing me do sometimes if you're wondering, like, why is she putting acrylic on the side of the nail tip? That is why. So yeah, other than that, it's the same process as normal, you guys. If you're a beginner, I'm going to go ahead and explain that step for you. So normally I recommend using about 3 to 4 beads. That normally gives you a nice foundation, a nice base. Granted, it does depend, on like the length of the nails you're doing, the shape of the nails you're doing. Sometimes that can change. So it's okay if you use more beads than that, and it's okay if you use less beads than that. There's not really a set rule. I just like to give that, the 3 to 4 bead recommendation just as like a starter, because it does, normally after applying 3 to 4 beads, I can tell if I need to go back and add more or if I do not. In this case, like I said, this acrylic was kind of being weird. So some nails I did have to go back in and add an additional bead. Some nails I didn't. But that's the good thing. So when you use, I like to work my way from top to bottom. And I like that method because it allows me to never overuse acrylic. So I always like to say that it's easier to add acrylic rather than take acrylic off. So when using this method, I've noticed, okay, so once I apply my 3 to 4 beads, it allows me to go back in and add more if I need to. And if I don't, then I'm good and I'm set, and I didn't overuse or over apply acrylic. So that's another reason why I kind of just like to say 3 to 4 beads. I do like to work my way up from top to bottom. Now, one thing I want to say is you want to constantly making sure that you are cleaning around the cuticles, cleaning the side walls of the nails. And I say that because working smarter, not harder, will definitely pay off. So when I first started doing nails, I used to skip that part. And then at the end, I would have, my shape would be so out of whack. I would have acrylic all around the cuticles that I would have to spend so long and using so many different drill bits to kind of clean that up. It was just a mess, you guys. So I just started to, through the acrylic application process, I would constantly make sure that I'm cleaning up the sides of the nails and the free edge, keeping that nice clean shape, and constantly cleaning around the cuticle area, because as you can see, especially with this acrylic, it was kind of flooding over, and it's important to keep that area clean, because if not, you will for sure have lifting, because of course the acrylic is not on the nail. So let me explain a little deeper. When the nail grows out, the acrylic is going to be on the nail and on the nail only, so it'll be okay. Now, if you have acrylic that is on the cuticle, when that nail grows out and that acrylic moves down, it's going to be lifted because it was never on the nail in the first place. So of course, as you can see if you're looking at your nail, especially from the side, the nail and the cuticle are at 2 different levels. So of course, when that acrylic that was on the cuticle starts to move down as the nail grows out, it'll be lifted, and you're more than likely going to have to replace that nail, or do more work to it when your client comes back for a fill-in if it hasn't chipped away too much already. So that's really important. I just like to remind people that, and staying clean and neat throughout this application process really does help you in the long run, because as you'll see when we get closer to the filing stage, you just have to clean the shape up rather than reshape them, and use your e-file and you'll be good. So I do recommend, that's like something that I will preach on, is to work clean and neat. That way in the end you don't have as much to do. So yeah, that's really important. I just kind of went overboard on that, but yeah, I just want to stress that to you. So as you can see, like, I'm wiping the cuticle area, keeping that nice and clean. So I am going to go back in on some nails, like I said, and just add acrylic here and there. I felt like some spots needed it more than others. I'm not sure, you guys, why this acrylic did that, but we made it through. We made it work. That's why I feel like the biggest tip I can give, if you feel like your acrylic is like not applying how you want it to, I would say the best thing is to just get it a little more wet with the monomer, because it allows you to, move it around, manipulate it way easier than if it's dry. So that gives you a little bit more time working with the wetter bead. Now, you do have to make sure you don't make it too wet, because it will just run right off or it'll clog your brush. But if you feel like, this is just, I'm not having enough time to shape this, apply this how I want it, it's messing up, it's doing this, it's doing that, just dip your brush in some monomer and apply to the bead that you're having trouble with, and just get it a little more wet. allowing you to have a little bit more time working with it. Another thing that I want to say is that the most important part, ladies, of this process of the acrylic application is making sure that you have a great apex. So the apex is where the natural nail and the nail tip meet. That is important. You really have to make sure that that's nice and built up, because if not, 9 times out of 10, if a client's nail is going to break, that is where it's going to break. Now, granted, it can break, for other reasons, not just because your application wasn't there, but it is just nice to keep in mind that if your apex is not built up, it does have a nice chance of breaking, only because if you think about it, aside from the acrylic, the only reason that nail tip is on the natural nail is because of that little spot right there where you glued the nail tip on. That is the base. That's like the root of the nail. And the acrylic is like so think of it like your nail is the dirt. The acrylic nail tip is the seed. And so as you build up that acrylic, it's kind of growing the flower. Without that seed being in that dirt, you're not going to have a flower. So without that apex, without that nice strong foundation of protecting where the nail tip goes onto the natural nail, you're not going to have any nail. I guess that's like the best way that I could kind of explain it. I don't know. But yeah, so you just want to make sure you don't want it to be too big and too, you don't have to go overboard. You just want to make sure that when you look at the nails from the side, you can see the nice slant, the nice apex, the nice build up. I think a lot of times something that gets misunderstood when learning acrylic nails is that a lot of times people make you think that the whole entire nail has to be nice and thick for your nails not to break. But that's not really the case. As long as your apex is built up, you're majority of the time you're going to be good to go. That's like the heart of the nail, the root of the nail. That's the most important part. That's what you want to focus on the most. So here I'm just going back in, and like I told you guys, you're going to see me like add some acrylic to the sides of the nails, just because for some reason it was just wiping right off, and normally I do not have that issue. I don't know, this powder, I don't know if maybe this is like just a really older acrylic, I don't know, but it's a super easy fix, just applying it back on, easily patting it down. Speaking of patting, that is another big tip, you guys. When you're applying acrylic, you do not want to like pull or drag the acrylic down. You just want to lightly feather it. So one thing that I used to do when I was a beginner I would be brushing my acrylic down so hard, and I would look at my napkin and all my acrylic would be on the napkin. Now I know that's how it looks in this case, but this is just really pigmented. It had a lot of color to it, and it was, I don't really know the word. I guess, yeah, it being pigmented is the best way I can describe it. So as you can see, every time I clean my brush, I'm having some color come off. It's not necessarily acrylic coming off. It's just more so the color. But yeah, so I would be seeing so much of my acrylic be on the towel, and I would have ran through and used so much monomer, and it was because I was repeating the same step over and over and over. And what I mean by that is I would apply a bead of acrylic, wipe it down so hard, and then I would be like, oh, I need more acrylic, and repeat that same step over and over. And then eventually, I would have enough acrylic. Sometimes I didn't even have enough. The whole nail would just finally be covered. But I would waste, you guys, it literally used to take me like 4 hours to do a set. Like, now I can do a basic set in about an hour and 15 minutes, but it was just crazy. So moral of the lesson is that you just want to feather it down. You don't want to apply too much pressure. You just want to lightly, feather it down, blend it in, and that will help you not only move a little quicker, but it will help you build up that apex. You'll have a nice foundation for your nails, and you won't be wasting a lot of product. Stuff is expensive nowadays, you guys. You do not want to be having to worry about running through a whole jar of acrylic in 1 week. So definitely just keep that in mind. I know it may be different for other people, but like when I was first learning the whole feather it down, patting it down, I could not grasp that concept, because I don't know what it was. I couldn't lightly apply acrylic. I just couldn't. every time I would apply acrylic, I naturally I would work too hard. And I just noticed that over time with practice, I just got it. So if you feel like that's something you're struggling with, if you feel like no matter how much you try to be light-handed, or no matter how much you try to just feather it or pat it, you feel like you're still just pulling too much off, it is okay, because I was that same way. And it just took a lot of practice. Eventually, just every set during the acrylic application, just kind of remind yourself to just lightly feather, lightly pat, lightly feather, and then eventually it's going to be muscle memory. You're going to be so used to just lightly feathering, lightly patting, that you won't have to worry about, pulling that acrylic down and being too hard on it, I guess I should say. So this is the finished result of the acrylic application. As you can see, nice, neat, and clean. Like I said, working smarter, not harder is the key, you guys, to a nice, quick, clean set. And I say quick, not saying that you need to be quick, that you have to rush through, but especially once you get into the stage of taking multiple clients a day, you do want to make sure that you're trying to be, considerate of time, and you definitely want to still take your time. Don't rush, you guys. That's one thing about me. I do not rush. I will tell clients that on my website. I do not rush. Granted, I'm not going to sit here and lollygag, but my work is everything to me. So yeah, you don't want to rush. I'm not saying it'll help you move faster as a way to make you think that you're slacking or that you need to move faster, but it's just something to keep in mind, that way you can get more clients in. So yeah, I'm just going back in and cleaning up the shape. As you can see, I'm not having to do too much at all, ladies. That is why I was telling you, being clean and neat during this application process really does pay off. I'm just going back in and just cleaning up the shape. I am filing underneath the sides of the nails because it helps me get out any excess nail tip or acrylic or anything that may have gotten under there from this application process. You don't want to go too hard, you don't want to file too hard when you're getting the undersides of the nails, because it can cause you to take too much off. So you just want to be, slightly file underneath the sides and just get off what you need to get off. It does make a difference. I used to skip this step, and then I would see my clients, when they're leaving or when they're paying, get on their phone, whatever, I would see the undersides of their nails and it would be so jagged and so many ridges. So I definitely, made it a point to start straightening the sides of the nails out. It's really important. It really does make a difference, you guys. As you can see, I'm still turning the hand and looking at it from different angles to make sure everything is nice and even, and they are turning out so great, you guys. By the way, this file is an 80/80 grit, so you do want to be very careful when filing with these files. I like to use this grit because I feel like it gets me the sharpest shape, but it is very dangerous. One wrong swipe and I can completely slice my client, and it's not fun at all. I felt it. It sucks. So you just want to make sure that you're kind of, being cautious, pulling back, holding back the skin, pulling back the sides of the nails, as you can see I was doing. So now I'm just going to go in with my sanding band, and I'm going to be sealing the cuticles and smoothing out the nail, making sure that it's nice and even, no lumps or bumps. Those are very noticeable and they're not pretty, you guys. So you don't want to apply too much pressure here. You just want to, gently go from top to bottom, left to right, making sure that you're covering the whole entire nail, giving it a nice, smooth, clean surface. Sealing the cuticles is super important. That's the step I'm doing here. You want to go from one side to the other, whichever is comfortable for you. I work from I work from right to left just because I'm right-handed. You don't have to do that. It's just whatever. You can do the opposite way. It's whatever's comfortable. Now, sealing the cuticle is super important because it helps prevent lifting. It helps make sure that the acrylic is leveled and where it needs to be, not too high up, not, too bulky, nothing that will cause it to lift. You do want to be careful going around the cuticle because if I use a sanding band, it just works best for me, but there are some people that use like ceramic bits, and that can slice your client. So you do want to be careful. If you would prefer to use the ceramic drill bits rather than the sanding band, but you're scared to cut somebody, you can look on Amazon, and they do have safety drill bits for like ceramic safety drill bits. So it's the same thing as the regular ceramic, but it's rounded at the tip. So it kind of helps prevent, you having to worry about slicing your client. It could still happen, but the chance is just lesser. So if you're interested, I did used to use those. I just started using a sanding band one day and I liked it a whole lot better. So now I'm going in with a buffer. This is a really quick, simple, easy step. It just helps smooth out the nail and get rid of anything that may have, you know, happened when filing with the e-file. Then I don't video it, but I am going to apply some cuticle oil around the cuticles, and I have my client go and wash her hands just to get rid of all the excess dust and everything from working. Just want to give it a nice clean slate for the top coat. And I'm using my Macart No Wipe Gel Top Coat. You can get this from Amazon. I actually used to use Beetles, which I love, but I got this Macart in a nail kit that I bought and I have just really enjoyed it, so I'm going to use it until I run out. I might stick with it, I might not, but it is actually really nice. So yeah, this is a really simple step. You just want to apply that top coat, and then after doing so, I think I forgot to film the part, but I like to go back in with my fingers. Obviously I'll have on gloves, and I like to wipe the sides as well as the free edge of the nail, because I've noticed that with gel top coat sometimes it does, kind of start to run over. So you just want to make sure that you're doing that to keep your nice clean shape, and then let it cure for 60 seconds. Yes, this is the finished result. I love them so much. Super simple, super basic, ready for fall. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and until next time.